Can you talk about how you transitioned out of your playing career and got into advising?
Yeah, it's funny because it was totally by accident. It was never my dream to become an advisor. It just kind of happened. Basically, I did biochemistry at Trine University, played hockey there. And then once I graduated out of it, I was doing some substitute teaching at my local high school. I was in the process of applying to medical school. And while I was in my gap here, while I was substitute teaching, in the afternoons, I go and hop on the ice with some prep hockey players. They'd ask me questions about my path and everything. And I kind of explained to them, and slowly but steadily, they said, "Hey, can you help me get on this team? Help me get on that team?" And then one thing leads to another. I have like 15 to 20 parents calling me like each week. And after a while, I was like, I should probably charge and start charge for the time I'm putting up here for helping these kids out. So basically started doing that, and we started like fairly small, and then other advisors like Stefano that you interviewed came and joined on board, and then now it just kind of the business that it is today. So that's kind of like how we transitioned into the advising space.
Absolutely. How many players would you say you work with now?
Now, so myself, I don't work with as many anymore. When I was at my peak, I was at like maybe 30, 35 players or so. I think that
Mhm.
was my cap. And then I slowly like start to reduce the amount just because now my role is more, helping the advisors, find their way, giving them advice, helping on the business side of things. So I would say maybe the advising industry, I don't have the exact numbers on me, but probably between 100 to 125, 130 or so altogether. But for me, like definitely a lot less players than I used to have.
Yeah, that's still pretty substantial though.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, we try our best to help as many players out as possible. We have some great advisors on our team. We're always looking to expand. So as we get more and more players that are interested in our services and stuff, we try and have as many advisors as we can that are high quality that can kind of match up to that standard. So we're trying to at least get as many advisors as possible on the team.
Yeah, absolutely. What have you learned from running this business?
God, I mean, we could talk about this for for an hour, but
Yeah.
maybe like top lessons is always prioritize service over anything.
Mhm.
Always be honest with people. Really managing expectations is like the biggest thing. So if a player comes to me and they say, "Oh, I want to play NCAA D1 hockey," but they're a 19-year-old playing in like the USPHL Premier with 3 points in the season, it's not going to happen, right? So it's really about managing those expectations, making sure people have realistic expectations as to where they want to go. If that's the case, it's worth at that point taking them on as a client. If not, typically it's not really worth it. So that honesty, good service. I think those are the main ones. There's probably a bunch more, but off the top of my head, I'm thinking that's the main lessons I kind of took away.
Yeah, that's a great answer. So, transitioning into more of a hockey specific question, what do you think are the most important habits that predict success from a player standpoint?
I think first and foremost is having a great attitude and a learner's mindset. So if you're like some kids, like you tell them one thing, it goes in one ear out the other. You can really tell when a kid's really attentive, and when you tell them something, they try and implement like in the next practice drill or the following shifts. You can kind of see it. That's really big. If you have a learner's mindset, you always have a good attitude. You don't have a big ego. That's gonna really impress a lot of coaches. So that's the biggest thing. On the hockey side, the two biggest skills for success, I would say, I'm always a big fan of like hockey IQ and skating. Skating, number one, just because you need to be able to skate to get around out there. If you can't skate in today's game, you're not really going to go very far. And secondly, is hockey IQ. I think, that's really what separates like the good and okay players from the great players. The guys that have amazing hockey IQ, like McDavid, like Crosby, all those guys, that's really what puts them a step above everybody else. They can really see the game. And I think there's a common myth out there that hockey IQ can be taught. Of course, I think it's the most difficult one to teach, but I think it is teachable, especially if a kid takes the time to like watch video, to really analyze the game, analyze other players that do really good players like plays like McDavid and Crosby and all that stuff. So it can be taught. It's a little bit harder. So I would say attitude and mindset, growth mindset, learner's mindset, skating, and hockey IQ. Those are the biggest three.
Definitely. I'm glad you made that point about hockey IQ because I was going to ask you about that. Some people are very firm and it can't be taught, and then other people are more on the other side. So it's interesting to hear your thoughts on that one.
Yeah, for sure. It's just like I think it's the oldest myth that's been in hockey that, oh, you just can't teach it. You can't teach it. You can't teach size. You can't teach hockey IQ. Size, obviously, you can't do very much about that. But hockey IQ, I'm a firm believer that if a player puts in the work, yes, it's the harder skill to develop, but you can develop it. You just have to like train the right way, as in you have to watch video, pay attention, and all that stuff. So I'm
Sure.
glad I'm not the only one who tends to think that.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great point. So last one here. Can you tell me about your best hockey memory?
Yeah, I'd say like probably the championship that we won when I was in junior hockey the first year.
Hmm.
That was a phenomenal one. There's been some other great memories. I'm sure as soon as we end the interview here, I'll think of like the best one. But yeah,
Yeah.
championship, first year junior hockey, that was pretty special, honestly, because as you know, it's really hard to win a championship and it doesn't come by too often in your career. So when it does happen, it's pretty special. We had a great group of guys there. So I would say that'd be the first one.
That's awesome. That's a good one.